Okay, hello everyone. My name is Joshua Liu, and as Anderson introduced, I am a qualifier of the U.S. National Chemistry Olympiad Study Camp this year, and my topic today will be standing out in Chemistry Olympiad. And so here's a picture of me synthesizing carbon dots at the study camp this year at University of Maryland. Okay, so first, what is Chemistry Olympiad? So obviously, it's a challenge built for high school students. And in my opinion, it's an assessment of two things. First, it's test your chemical knowledges, which is, in other words, how much you know. And then second thing that the exam tests is your logical thinking skills, which in other words is whether you're able to cleverly use what you know. Okay, so here's the format of the US Chemistry Olympiad. So it's split into two stages. First, we have the local exam, which is in which you compete with other students in your local section, and the test is the test consists of 60 multiple choice questions, and you have 110 minutes to answer them. And the local section, most student doesn't have a time issue, but then as you advance to the national section, it becomes more of a time crunch. Because as you will see here, it's consists of three parts. In part one, there's 60 multiple choices, just like the local exam, but then you only have 90 minutes. And also beware that the national multiple choices questions can be much harder than the local exams, and you have less time. And in part two, you will be given 8 free response questions in 105 minutes. So probably on average 10 to 15 minutes per question. And these questions are all multiple part questions. So part two is also many students also have time issues on part two. And then finally, the part three is our lab part, which consists of 2 lab practicals in 90 minutes. So 45 minutes per lab. Here I included a list of topics that's covered by the US Chemistry Olympiad. And for those students here, I'm not sure how many of us are from the US. For those students who are in the US and taking the AP chemistry or will be taking the AP chemistry, you will notice that many of the topics here are the same ones covered in AP chemistry, which I will talk about in more details later. Okay, so here I gave lab questions. This in fact is one of the questions given this year. So as you will see, it asks for the amount of stomach acid that can be neutralized by a tablet of antacid. As you can see, it's pretty interesting, and usually, just like this question, it's related to our life. Okay, so the next question, when to start preparing? My answer to this question is really, I don't have an answer because it depends on you. Ideally, if you want to do well in Chemistry Olympiad by your junior year in order to write it into your college application, ideally, you will probably start somewhere halfway between your 10th grade. But like, it doesn't mean that if you start the summer before junior year or even 2 months in your junior, you don't have a chance. That's not the case. But like some students maybe start earlier, that's also fine. Some people start in 9th grade, that's good because you might have more space to think about whether chemistry is really the thing that you want to do for high school. And someone might think it's the earlier the better to start preparing for a chemistry Olympiad. That's not necessarily true. Some people started in middle school, and I personally don't recommend that because I mean, I guess you can start reading the textbook if you are interested in chemistry, but I wouldn't start grinding the problems in middle school. It's just too much for middle school students. Okay, so then how to prepare for Chemistry Olympia is our main question today. So first, as I mentioned, it is very important that you take the most advanced chemistry class that your school offers. So for student in US, it's most likely going to be AP chemistry, the hardest chemistry class that your school offers. It's very important for you to take that class because it covers a lot of the same topics as the chemistry Olympiad, just as I mentioned. And it's very important to pay good attention in class, which I think most of you, everyone here will pay good attention in class. And then very important as well, make sure that you understand everything in your class. Very important because you can only use something if you truly understand it. Okay. And then my next advice is to read more because there's always something that you don't know yet. And that's especially true for chemistry because there's lots of reactions, compounds, equations, stuff, models that you might not know yet. So it's important to read more. And so first, textbooks can be very useful. And there are several textbooks that I specifically recommend for students preparing for Chemistry Olympiad. The first one is Atkins, which I which I think it's probably very easy to find online. I'm not sure if you can find a PDF, but I'm sure that a hard copy wouldn't be very expensive. It's very good for general chemistry, and many of the people succeeding in Chemistry Olympiad recommends it. So Atkins is my first recommendation. And then Klein for organic chemistry. So as you see on the list I showed, there's the last 6 questions are covers organic chemistry, and also for students who have already taken AP chemistry, you will notice that organic chemistry is not part of the AP chemistry class. So if you want to do better than other people like around you, this is a very good chance because most of the people won't go to the effort to study organic chemistry. And if you do, you automatically get the extra 10%. So if you're really serious in doing well in the Chemistry Olympiad, I will recommend you study Orgo, and reading Organic Chemistry by David Klein is one of your best options, in my opinion. Okay, so textbook can be very useful, can be good resources to read. But what if you don't particularly like the idea of reading a really sick textbook for a competition? Luckily, there's other routes you can take because there's lots of useful online resources as well. The first one I would recommend is the Chemistry LibreText, which for students who already have taken some chemistry classes, you might have already encountered because it really covers a lot of stuff. It actually draws its material from the textbook, the ones that I listed as well. And really, you can find everything in the Chemistry LibreText. And also Wikipedia, which I don't recommend as much as Chemistry LibreText, but if you have something specific that you want to know, you can just type it into Google and then read about it in Wikipedia. And finally, Master Organic Chemistry, which is a good substitute for Klein if you don't like the idea of reading a sick chemistry textbook just to study organic chemistry. Okay, this is Zumdao, which most US AP classes use. This is Organic Chemistry by David Klein. And Clayton, which is a more advanced organic chemistry textbook that I don't recommend for starters. And finally, Atkins. This is one of the best textbooks for general chemistry and Chemistry LibreText. Okay, next. While reading more, it's also important to do more practice because, practice makes perfect. Okay, I don't know what just happened, but okay. The lucky thing is that all of the past US exams are available online. So for those US students, and I think they just updated their website, so it's now listed in a more ordered fashion. So it's very good. And then for people who are already planning to start doing the questions, there's a useful fact because the exams from 2017 and onward are exceptionally great and exceptionally suitable for the upcoming exams. Because if you already start doing them, you will see that these ones, the more recent ones, are significantly more challenging than the older ones, and therefore they're I guess they're more valuable reference when you're preparing for the upcoming one. And here I listed the website. The first one is the official website, which you will find all of the past US Chemistry Olympiad exams. And then also a non-official website where you can practice the questions by categories, which is very useful if you're trying to grind the questions like 2 weeks before the exam. Okay, so another tip I have is to work with others. If you have a friend at your school that's also interested in chemistry, I will highly recommend you to work with him in chemistry for Chemistry Olympiad, because working together makes learning much easier and much more fun. And also your friends might know something that you don't. Like, let's take for example, your friend might be better at you than maybe better than you at thermodynamics, but on the other hand, you might know more about organic chemistry. In that case, you can share with your friends so that both of you gain improvements and learn more on the way. Okay, and finally, it's also very important to get hands-on experience, which is, in other words, labs. So please, everyone, cherish the lab opportunities at your school. Usually your AP classes and sometimes your regular and honor chemistry classes will have labs. And it's very important for you to cherish those opportunities because, as you see on the US Chemistry Olympiad, that format that I shared, there's a lab part, the part 3. So if you want to do well in the lab part, it is very important that you take the opportunities at your school to do the practices. And then when you're doing the labs, a tip that I have is to learn to develop your own procedure. So in your AP chemistry classes, your teacher will usually give you the procedures, but what I want you to do is to think about how you will develop the procedure while doing the labs. Because on the Chemistry Olympiad, you will be asked to develop your own procedure, and they will only tell you the materials and what they want you, like what product they want you to achieve, but they won't tell you the specific procedure. You have to know how to carry out the whole experiment. So it's very important that you know how to develop this procedure. Okay, and finally, it's very, very important that you follow the safety protocols because we don't want you to get hurt while doing the labs. Okay, that's about all that I want to share about the Chemistry Olympiad. And does anyone have any questions regarding anything that I talked about?
Yeah, so great presentation, Tiashi. And also, yeah, does anyone have any questions? This is your chance, students, parents, educators, anyone? Any questions? Also, if you didn't already, you could put them into the chat. Oh, Amber has one in the chat. How did you get interested into chemistry, Tiashi? This is a pretty good question because maybe some people aren't really interested into the chemistry aspect. So how did you get into it?
Okay, so in fact, I didn't start chemistry, start doing any chemistry until the summer before sophomore year. And then chemistry, like as soon as I got in touch with chemistry, I got pretty interested, mainly because I'm math is one of the favorite subject, and I'm pretty good at math, and chemistry heavily involves math, so then it's very fun. And then also it's like chemistry, the difference of chemistry and math is probably like chemistry, you have, I say, more variations in terms of the cool compounds, the cool reactions, the colors, the all the stuff.
Good question, Amber. Anyone else have any questions? All right. So if that's the case, then I'll go ahead and move on to kind of like I'd say the ending almost, and the kind of like the what's upcoming part. So in this case, I'd like to say thank you all so much for coming. Right. I know this is pretty short, but it was very, very informative. So to anyone who does enjoy chemistry, does enjoy math, um, or maybe just enjoys like anything sort of related to how our natural world works, right? Because chemistry is a part of that. I think that the chemistry Olympiad is definitely something that you should consider at the least, depending on your skill level and your interest in it. But yeah, if you are to do that, make sure to use Yashu's tips because they are obviously coming from someone who is quite qualified enough to give you these tips. And if they work for him, then they'll probably also work for you. But yeah, so thank you so much for coming to one of these Ivy and Beyond symposiums. Next time around, we'll be talking about chemistry as a cornerstone of the modern world. So what I can take from that is basically how it's in our modern world today. And I think that's going to be pretty relevant, pretty important to anyone who's going to go into a STEM field, chemistry field, really anything like that. So definitely something worth considering, people. But other than that, if no one else has any other last minute questions that they thought of, because again, you can ask, you guys can, I guess, head out. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And hope you guys learned something. All right. See you, everyone.
Bye.